What happens when a retired Navy SEAL, a single dad who's promised never to return to violence, finds himself in the middle of a corporate boardroom ambush, fighting not just for justice, but for the safety of the woman who unknowingly holds the power to change his life? Stay with me till the end, because this story will shock you. And before we dive in, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more unbelievable stories. What happens when a retired Navy SEAL, a single dad who's promised never to return to violence, finds himself in the middle of a corporate boardroom ambush, fighting not just for justice, but for the safety of the woman who unknowingly holds the power to change his life? Stay with me till the end, because this story will shock you. And before we dive in, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more unbelievable stories. Ethan Cross had left his military days behind. Once feared in the shadows of foreign lands, he was now a man who spent his mornings making pancakes for his 9-year-old daughter, Lily, and walking her to school before heading to his quiet job as a security consultant. To the outside world, he was simply a widowed father doing his best. But beneath the calm exterior was a man who carried the weight of countless missions, the scars of battles that never made the news, and a promise to his late wife that he would never again live by the sword. Lily was his anchor. She had her mother's smile, her mother's laugh, and every time she looked at him, Ethan felt the broken pieces of his heart trying to mend. Everything he did now, every choice, every sacrifice, was for her. Yet fate has a strange way of calling back the very warriors who try hardest to escape the battlefield. It began with a phone call. A former SEAL brother reached out, someone Ethan hadn't spoken to in years. He wasn't calling about a reunion or to swap stories, he was calling with a warning. There was talk in the corporate underworld about an upcoming takeover, not of a building, but of a company. Powerful men with hidden agendas were planning to strip control from a woman who had inherited her father's legacy. A company worth billions and a reputation built on integrity. But it wasn't a business negotiation. It was going to be hostile, ruthless, and possibly violent. And Ethan's name had surfaced in whispers. Not as a target, but as a shield. They said if she had Ethan Cross on her side, their plan would fail. At first, he wanted no part of it. He wasn't a soldier anymore. He was a father, a man who tucked in his daughter with bedtime stories, not mission briefings. But when he heard the woman's name, Isabella Hale, his heart stirred with something he hadn't felt in years. Isabella wasn't just another CEO. She was someone Ethan had met years ago when their worlds briefly collided. She had been kind to him when he was broken, a widow grieving his wife's passing, offering him words that carried him through one of his darkest nights. She probably didn't even remember him, but he had never forgotten her. And now she was in danger. The boardroom was supposed to be a place of order, deals struck with firm handshakes and signatures, but Ethan knew how quickly order could collapse. His instincts told him that this wasn't just about contracts and stocks. The men who wanted Isabella's company weren't the type to rely solely on legal documents. They had hired muscle, manipulators, and men who thrived in chaos. It was an ambush waiting to unfold under the guise of a meeting. He could see it as clearly as he once saw ambushes in desert towns and jungle clearings. Ethan sat at his kitchen table that night, Lily asleep in her room, the silence of the house pressing in. He stared at the worn photograph of his late wife, her eyes smiling back at him. "What do I do?" he whispered. She had always believed in his strength, but she had also begged him to leave that life behind. Yet Ethan couldn't shake the image of Isabella walking into that boardroom, unsuspecting, surrounded by men who wanted to strip away her dignity, her control, maybe even her safety. He knew men like them. He had fought them in different uniforms, under different flags. Greed was just another battlefield. The next morning, he made his decision. He called his old teammate back and said 3 words he hadn't spoken in years. "And I'm going in." When Ethan arrived at the towering glass headquarters of Hale Enterprises, he wasn't dressed like a soldier. He wore a tailored suit, his broad shoulders filling it effortlessly, his presence commanding yet quiet. To anyone else, he looked like just another bodyguard, a man paid to stand in the corner. But beneath the fabric and the calm eyes was the same warrior who had once walked into hostile villages with nothing but courage and a plan. Isabella noticed him the moment he entered. She was poised, elegant in a navy business dress, her dark hair tied back ply, her eyes sharp yet warm. For a fleeting second, recognition flickered across her face, though she couldn't place where she had seen him before. All she knew was that when Ethan Cross took his place behind her chair, she felt an unexplainable sense of safety. The meeting began civilly enough. Papers slid across the table, voices exchanged in careful tones, but Ethan saw it in their eyes. The men seated across from Isabella weren't here to negotiate. They were circling predators, their words dripping with false promises, their hands gripping pens like daggers. And then it began. The veiled threats, the sudden push of documents demanding signatures, the pressure building in the room. One of them, a man with cold eyes and a scar running down his cheek, leaned too close to Isabella, his tone crossing from professional to intimidating. "Hands off the lady," Ethan's voice cut through the tension, deep and commanding, the kind of voice that made men pause before doing something reckless. The room went still. The man straightened, his eyes narrowing at the figure who had just shifted the balance of power. For a heartbeat, silence reigned. Isabella looked at Ethan, surprise and gratitude in her eyes. The predators across the table realized this wasn't going to be the easy conquest they had planned. They had walked into a boardroom expecting to corner a woman alone. Instead, they had awakened the lion who had promised never to roar again. What none of them knew was that Ethan Cross wasn't just here to guard a CEO. He was here to protect a promise, to shield a woman who once saved him with her kindness, and to prove to himself that even a man trying to live a quiet life couldn't turn his back when injustice reared its head. Wall. The second raised a hand, but Ethan caught it midair, twisting until the man dropped to his knees with a pained groan. It all happened so quickly that Isabella could barely process it, her heart hammering as if she were watching something out of a film. But this wasn't cinema. This was real, and the man protecting her wasn't just a bodyguard, he was a force of nature. The remaining executives froze, their false bravado stripped away. The scarred man stood, fury and frustration contorting his features. "Oh, you'll regret this, Cross. You don't know who you're dealing with." Ethan leaned forward, his voice low and cutting. "And you don't know who you tried to cross. Leave. Now." Reluctantly, with mutters of anger and threats under their breath, the men gathered their papers and stormed out, their plan in tatters. The two enforcers limped behind them, heads lowered. Within minutes, the room was empty except for Ethan and Isabella. The silence that followed was thick, the kind of silence that carried relief, shock, and unspoken gratitude all at once. Isabella turned to him, her voice soft but trembling. Why did you do this? You don't even know me." Ethan held her gaze, his blue eyes steady, his voice carrying the weight of truth. "And you once helped me when I was at my lowest. You probably don't remember, but I never forgot. I owed you a debt, Isabella, and I don't let debts go unpaid." Her eyes softened, searching his face for the memory. Then it hit her, the widowed man she had spoken to years ago at a charity event, a man she had comforted without knowing his name. Her breath caught as she realized the full circle of fate that had brought him here. In that moment, something shifted between them. It wasn't just about protection or gratitude. It was about connection, about two souls who had carried burdens too heavy for most to understand, finding solace in each other's presence. Isabella felt the tears she had been holding back for months finally sting her eyes, and Ethan, the hardened warrior, found himself wanting to ease her pain in a way he hadn't felt since his wife's passing. But before emotions could take over, Ethan's phone buzzed. A message from his old teammate, "They'll be back. This isn't over." Ethan's eyes darkened. He knew the fight wasn't finished, but at least for now, Isabella was safe. He turned to her, his voice steady but urgent. "We'll need better security. This won't be the last time they try something." Isabella nodded, her voice soft but firm. "Oh, then stay. I trust you, Ethan, more than anyone else." The weight of her words pressed on him. Staying meant putting himself and Lily back into danger, but leaving meant abandoning a woman who needed him. He thought of Lily's innocent smile, his late wife's promise, and Isabella's pleading eyes. Perhaps for the first time in years, Ethan realized that maybe his purpose wasn't just to protect his daughter, it was to teach her what it meant to stand for what's right, even when it's dangerous. He exhaled slowly, then nodded. "I'll stay. For now, but understand this, Isabella, I'm not here to play games. I'll protect you, but you need to trust me completely." Her eyes glistened as she whispered, "Sight already do." As they left the boardroom together, Ethan glanced back one last time. The table was littered with abandoned contracts, pens, and shattered pride. But to him, it looked like a battlefield won, not with bullets or blood, but with courage, resolve, and the strength to stand when others would have fallen. He didn't know what the future held, but one thing was certain. The war for Isabella's safety had only just begun, and he would be at the front line. And so the story of a retired SEAL, a single dad bound by love and loss, and a woman who embodied resilience, was no longer about survival. It was about redemption, second chances, and the unexpected ways lives could intertwine when fate decided the timing was right. Stay with me, because this is just the beginning of their journey. And if this story moved you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more powerful and emotional stories that will leave you inspired.